Good afternoon. This is Bev Juday from the Wild Rivers Film Festival. Thank you for joining us today. We have a fun-filled interview for you. And with me, my co-interviewer is Sue Wright. And Sue, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce our guests.
Thank you, Bev. So today we have Sheryl Steinruck, the Director of the Education Department with the Tolowa Dee-ni Nation, and Kim St. Clair, the Program Manager for the Education Department with the Tolowa Dee-ni Nation. And we're here today to talk about community partnerships and community building. I want to welcome our audience to the Wild Rivers Film Radio. Today we're diving into the power of community partnerships in strengthening local arts, culture, and education. One of the Wild River Film Festival's key collaborations is with the Tolowa Dee-ni Nation Education Department in Smith River, California. And like the Wild Rivers Film Festival, the department is dedicated to providing resources that empower local youth to capture and share their own stories through film. Before we get started, I do have a sponsor shout out. We'd like to thank the City of Brookings for their support through the Tourism Event Fund Assistant Grant of $2,000 and the Curry County Cultural Coalition Oregon Cultural Trust Grant of $1,500. Your support helps make the film festival possible this year. And if our listeners are interested in sponsoring the Wild Rivers Film Festival and our mission to celebrate indie cinema on the Wild Rivers coast, you can learn more at our website, wildriversfilmfestival.com. If this is the first time you're hearing about the Wild Rivers Film Festival, we're so glad that you're joining us. The Wild Rivers Film Festival is a celebration of indie and local cinema that happens during the third week of every August in Brookings. And over the course of 4 days, we screen more than 24 films at 3 locations in the city. Many of our film screenings feature question and answer sessions from visiting filmmakers, and our festival includes daily education panels, VIP parties, and not-to-be-missed awards ceremony on the final day of the fest. Festival passes are on sale now at wildriversfilmfestival.com, and we can't wait to see you at the show. If you're just joining us, you're listening to the Wild Rivers Film Radio. I'm Sue Wright, and today we're sitting down with Sheryl Steinruck and Kim St. Clair to talk about partnerships. So, let's get on with our conversation.
Okay. Sounds good.
Sheryl and Kim, can you tell us about your roles with the Education Department and what inspired you to get involved?
Program Director, my name is Kim, and my responsibilities are to the development and implementation of programs within our Education Department. And basically, the reason I'm here is that I have a huge respect for education, and my mom calls me a professional student because at the age of 64, I still go to school. I'm going to getting, whatever knowledge I can grab. So, and actually, it's more about, I also struggled as a young child with learning issues. And so I recognize that and how hard it can be. And so I'm hoping that, just my part here, that I can help our kids get over those hurdles. That's my story.
Sure.
Delaha. My name is Sheryl Steinruck, and I'm the Director of the Education Department here for Tolowa Dee-ni Nation. The Education Department is a new organization to the nation in that it started in 2019. And we haven't been around long. One of the goals of the Education Department, though, is to actually work with citizens from birth to however old they need to be working in education. We have 3 divisions within our nation, the one being Head Start, the How and What Early Learning Program, and that's a 3 to 5 year old Head Start program, which we are expanding this year to include 0 to 3 early Head Start. So we'll be having 0 to 3 this year. We're in the process of expanding the facility now to accommodate that classroom setting. We also have the Youth Services Division, in which Kim is involved, which is kindergarten through 12th grade. And so we cover all the areas within that range. And we also have the post-secondary program, which covers actually high schoolers who are going to college, taking college courses while in high school, to graduates, PhDs and beyond. And in the interim, we also have the Language and Culture Division, which is the heart and soul, basically, of who we are as a nation, with language and culture being foremost in everything that we do with what we're trying to develop. And so you're right in looking at how we exist is through partnerships. And so we have been in the process of developing partnerships across the area here between Curry County, Del Norte County, and beyond. We're not islands. We don't live in a vacuum, so we have to reach out to coordinate ourselves to get the things done that need to be done. The main goal we have, too, is to find those young people with active, creative minds that want to learn, and we're here to help them do that. And so with the help of the Accessing Choices in Education project grant for 5 years, we're able to bring in knowledge educators and have them come in and teach the youth different things. And while we were in the process of formulating that particular grant program, we ran across the filmography, videography as being a key to helping us with what we need to do to bring forth our language and culture. And also to bring in more funds. One of the things that I always thought that we would do is create video so that when we go to sell ourselves to an agency, foundation, or whatever, we can say, hey, this is what we're doing, and we want to do more of it. And so please give us your money. This is how we'll spend your money, and then keep the thing going. And so with that effort, we initially started with the American Indian Film Festival out of San Francisco. And we had them here for a couple of summers, developed a video. We haven't gotten vetted yet through the council because everything has to be approved through the council. And once that happens, we're hoping to show it in August.
That's
And for the
Roots of
film festival.
Resilience,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes. It's called Rooted in Resilience.
Rooted in Resilience.
And so what we wanted to do in that video was to show we do come from a very brutal history here. The Tolowa Dee-ni Nation, we survived what we call the Tolowa Holocaust, and we were nearly decimated off the face of the earth. We have suffered the second largest recorded in American history massacre behind the Pequot War. And so with us, we've been in a form of resiliency, restoration for the last 60 years, well before that actually, but really hitting it hard in the last 60 years after termination. So in that process, we brought in this film production company of Native Americans, and we did all kinds of beautiful video through the ocean, the mountains, the redwood trees, have a really good story in that. And so we wanted to look local. And someone had come along and said, hey, what about Wild Rivers Film Festival? We have it right here in Brookings. There's a whole group of people up there who are into this. And it was through Daryl Moorhead, who is also a member of the Education Committee. And he was a photographer, I understand.
For our first film festival.
For your first film festival. So he's on the committee. So we're talking about all this. Hey, I know about Wild Rivers Film Festival. So he was our introduction. And the first time I met you guys up there in Brookings, it was come home. Felt so good. It felt like, we were on the same plane. I think we still are in terms of what we're trying to accomplish.
We had so many ideas. And Sheryl said, this is like weaving a basket.
It is. It truly is. And so what we did this last summer was create that contract and developed a program, which you guys have locally right here at SWAC.
Yes.
Right here in the community. And what better way to grow our kids than right here at home?
It's an interesting thing, too, because we actually are across the state line, right?
Right.
It's not just two communities, but we're two communities across state lines, and we're still partnering.
Well, see, that's the thing about Tolowa Dee-ni Nation. Our ancestral lands go all the way to Sixes River in Oregon, clear over to the Applegate Valley, and then clear down to Wilson Creek.
It's a big area.
It's huge. And so the state line is an artificial line for us in terms of who we are as a people. But with the regulations being different between states, between county governments, it's been rather difficult to navigate. But our tribal membership is on both sides. So to us, it really doesn't, quote, matter.
And I'm really glad we're challenging that, but
Yeah.
sometimes when you're writing a grant, it's specific to Coos and Curry County,
Yes.
and it's like, but half of our reach is down in Del Norte County and Smith
Right, so
River.
Tolowa Dee-ni Nation takes in 5 counties, actually. Humboldt, Del Norte, Curry, Coos, and Josephine.
Oh, wow. That's
in
a
Oregon.
big area.
It is. And so for us, we're looking at trying to get services out to all people. And so one way to do that is partnering with you all, because you have connections too, not only in Brookings, but across the world in other parts that then we can join in. And so I think it's a great.
And we are trying to make connections
Right.
with the film festival in Eastern Oregon and Klamath and around the state, but our filmmakers come from all over the country.
Right,
And
right.
We have international films that were from China and India, so we're really reaching out. Kim, I want to turn to you for just a minute, and I know the department has a strong history of outreach to tribal youth, but what are some of your major goals and accomplishments with the youth here?
Well, one of our goals is to reach 100% of our kids and to make sure that they all graduate, that they all are aware of the options that they have.
And when you're talking about reach, you're talking about this 5-county area?
Wherever they are. I mean, we have families that are, in Florida or,
Oh, my goodness.
and we're still available, to them as far as education resources. So it's not like just because they're not here that we can't make an impact. Obviously, we want to make an impact with our kids here in Curry and Del Norte, at the local schools, making sure that they have everything that they need as far as tools, and if there's anything special that they need, we want to make sure that they have access to that too. And we've recently gotten into the schools that have IEP programs that we actually go in with parents to help advocate and
my goodness, that's
navigate
important.
that process. Because a lot of the parents don't realize what their rights are.
Or they
and-
feel very intimidated by
Yeah,
the administrators.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, that's just one of the many goals that we have, for this program. But we also have a lot of cultural goals too that we want to make sure that our kids are participating in, that they're aware of, and this is as a Tolowa myself. Those are some of my best memories of dancing with the tribe, and going to Bicentennial in Washington D.C. representing our tribe, and the different the foods, this is terrible to say, but when I grew up here, we had salmon so much that I really didn't like salmon anymore. I was so tired of salmon. And people would be like, "Oh my God, how could you not like salmon?" I do now. I've come back to it, and I love salmon. But
And the traditionally prepared salmon
yes,
is so
it is.
delicious.
It's yeah,
The
and
best
that-
way to eat it.
yeah. And that could have been part of the problem when I moved away, is they wasn't cooked like I was used to. But anyway,
I wanted just to take a quick break and let anyone that's tuning in know that this is the Wild Rivers Film Festival's Film Radio podcast. And Bev Juday and I are interviewing Sheryl Steinruck and Kim St. Clair of the Tolowa Dee-ni Nation's Education Department today. So, just switching gears a little bit, at the Wild Rivers Film Festival, we aim to contribute to economic development by supporting filmmaking education and attracting film projects to our region. Kim and Sheryl, how do you see filmmaking as a vital component of tribal well-being and cultural preservation? I know, Sheryl, you began to talk about this a bit, so I'm hoping you'll expand. And what opportunities do you hope to create for tribal youth through film and storytelling specifically?
Well, as we were alluding to earlier, we have gotten to where we hire knowledge educators to come in and teach specific cultural practices. And one of the areas that we were really blessed to have happen was to rebuild and construct a redwood dugout canoe. And with our relationship we have with the parks system between Tolowa Dee-ni Nation and the parks, state and federal, we have been able to secure logs now that we are able to then build our canoes. And
this is a major accomplishment,
major
too, right?
accomplishment,
It's
yes.
kind of expanding the
Right.
filmmaking, but
Yes.
the backstory is for a long time you didn't have access to
Yes,
the logs.
the last known Howanquit male to be a builder was Ben White. And he was such a strong man that the canoes that he made, he could actually canoe all the way up the Smith River, clear up to Gasky,
Wow.
and come down again.
That's a paddle.
That's a paddle. And the thing is, back in the day, we didn't have all the chips and soda and all those things we have nowadays that make us nice and fat as Americans. We lived a protein diet. And so everyone was actually healthier back in the day. So those kind of feats were something that was a little more average and ordinary. But he was able to do that. And so it's been 160 years since we've had anyone build our own canoe within our nation. So we got together with Yurok man, Dave Severance, and he came, and as a master builder, came and taught our nation, various individuals, what to do. So as a concept we had with Wild Rivers Film Festival was to go ahead and record that process, to actually do a video about that.
Right.
And get that kind of information available so that our next generations will have a visual of what it could be. Now, how we have incorporated this concept already is with our language and culture division, with our language in particular, we have been building applications for language development. What we did was take these little vignettes and stories we have to put them together in real life and have them available on social media, have them available in applications. So this idea of developing the film would be able to take that one step further on being able to say, okay, this is how we do it, and you can look at a video and see it, just like you can now go on YouTube or you can Google something and find anything you want about things.
Right.
So we're in the process now of doing that kind of thing also. And in the meantime, we created a language video that just came out recently. It's been honored at the Smithsonian Museum and all over the world, clear down to New Zealand, and it tells a history of how we evolved in our language to where we are now. And so we want to just continue that visual history along with the teaching curriculum that we have, a place-based curriculum, so that when we create these things, we can also have study books, we can have study guides, we can have individual learning possibilities to the internet. And so it's really a good way to grow ourselves. In the meantime, we're trying to find youth that are interested in this.
And telling
that
the
was
stories,
the nice
right.
thing this last summer when we had the film festival, people coming out,
Yes.
and the kids got behind the cameras, got behind the audio stuff. It was just amazing to me in the short length of time, the classes that they had gone through, to be able to be confident enough. There's a little 7-year-old right there with the mic. I mean, I was just impressed. I thought it was really nice. And to find young people who want to do this, maybe find a way to make a living, find a way to develop themselves in their creativity, and still doing
continue
this
to share
wonderful
your
work.
stories,
Yes,
right?
exactly. So it's a perfect blend. It's a perfect blend for what we need to be doing.
I'm going to add that we launched our first filmmaking workshop last summer in partnership with the Tolowa Dee-ni Nation and Southwestern Oregon Community College's Brookings campus, and we hosted a 1-week workshop, which is 7 days, not 5, and the kids had, so 20 youth, had 4 days of intensive filmmaking education with filmmaking professionals. And then they came to the education department here in Smith River, and they actually filmed a short documentary about the canoe making. So it includes kind of an how-to, but it's much bigger than a how-to.
Right, it is.
It includes the story of how you get the logs, and it includes interviews with the parks department.
Yes.
On location. But these kids, by the second day, were running everything. We had a director, and the kids were running everything else. And it was just amazing and wonderful to see. So we are excited about offering the possibility of offering a second annual filmmaking workshop where those kids that participated last year can come back and pick up where they left off, and a new group of kids can come in and get started. So
Yes. Yeah, because for me, we worked with the high school as well. They have a whole department over there for, it's called the Warriors Update. And they have setups for doing short video. And we do have our high schoolers going through there, and we have found some people who are interested in continuing this. And so it's an area that we want to pique interest in. We have some kids who would like to be directors, some who would like to be story writers, some who would like to be behind the camera. Oh, excuse me. Behind the camera. So we have a variety of people who can do things and want to do things. So we encourage our involvement with Wild Rivers.
And not just in the summer at the workshop, but I think, Kim, you've been working to provide some sort of access, so podcasting or news journalism, other kinds of things. So it would be fun to begin to brainstorm how we take that workshop and keep moving it forward all the time.
It's interesting. Whenever we have an event, we take our podcasting system out, and the kids they just flock. They all want to say something. So it's interesting what they say freely. But
and that's what we need to know, isn't it? We need to know their views. We need to know what resonates with them so we can support that.
And it's a good medium to use. And yes, we do want to also start. Like I'm hoping that we can start kind of like not necessarily letters to the editor in our own newsletter, but just some views, some things that the kids are interested in, or thoughts in our own tribal newsletters. So, there's definitely a lot of possibilities, and it is fun watching. We have one right now that we're trying to get onto our own. It's called Fear in the Forest, and the kids wrote that, and then they put one of our tribal, what do we call those? Stories. About, basically not going out after dark. And so it's just a fun way to get those stories out and get the kids' take on it. So it's been fun.
I thought it was really interesting with all the kids, not only how quickly they took to the whole art of filmmaking, but to them it was very simple.
Yeah.
Right.
And we've talked about them taking their cell phones even going forward and filming around town, and a collaboration of putting all their efforts together and seeing what we can get out of that.
Right.
And showing that at the film festival. So I think it's giving them a gift in a way that this is not difficult. It's not something unreachable. It's right at your fingertips.
Yeah.
And it gives them a voice.
Yes.
Okay, well, we're getting close to the end of our 30 minutes. Sheryl, as someone who grew up in this region, what makes this community special to you? And how do you think that influences your work?
Well, me, along with most Native people, are connected to the land 100%. There is an ingrained part of us because we have resided here as Tolowa Dee-ni people for over 10,000 years. And so we have a connection with the ocean, the mountains, the rivers, everything in between. And so with that, we shepherded this land. I mean, we looked after it, we stewarded it, we developed it to where it is when we didn't get exposure to white contact was until 1820 when Jedediah Smith came through. And so then our first massacre happened in 1853. So with us, we're always connected to the land because that's where our food came from, that's our sustenance. Every rock, every ridge has a name. Our villages have names. And so we're very connected to the land. And that drives me because I know that I need to help instill that in the future generations of having that connection of who you are, where you came from, and what you're going to do when you grow up.
And I'm so happy you're letting us partner with you.
Oh, yes, 100%.
In those goals. Kim, could you just share with our audience where people can learn more about the program and stay updated on upcoming events?
Yeah, so if you want, you can go to our portal, which is Tolowa, TOLOWA.US, and there's all kinds of information on there. Our contact information is on there. Applications are on there, and our address, our phone numbers, everything is right there.
So, and the enrollment forms for the upcoming workshop will be there too?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
awesome.
Perfect.
Great. Looking forward to it.
Okay. I want to thank Sheryl and Kim for joining us today and for the incredible work that you're doing to empower youth through storytelling and education, and not just your youth, but your entire population. And we look forward to seeing what's ahead. So,
Thank you.
for anyone joining us here at the end of this podcast with Sheryl Steinruck and Kim St. Clair of the Tolowa Dee-ni Nation's Education Department, that's it for this episode of Wild Rivers Film Festival. If you want to learn more about the festival, buy passes, volunteer for us, or sign up for sponsorship, or look for the workshop enrollments for this summer, you can learn more and get connected at wildriversfilmfestival.com, and you can also find the festival on Facebook and Instagram. That's it for today. Recording was done by Michael Gorse. Sound mixing and editing is done by Michael Gorse. Our producer is Amanda Whittenmore, and today's guests were Sheryl Steinruck and Kim St. Clair. And I'm Sue Wright, and Bev Juday is my co-host, and we'll see you next time.